All right, everyone, you're down to your last official presentation slot, and I know we have a Q&A at the end of the day, but so this is the last official presentation slot, and what Panu had asked me to talk about was how to do a successful configuration manager deployment. And I don't have slides in this, and this is all going to be stuff I'm going to wing off the top of my head and stuff. And you guys are welcome to throw in your own thoughts on what if you encounter things or what makes things successful and so on. So I guess I'm going to walk over to the whiteboard, so I'll throw up some stuff on the whiteboard, and I'll go do some quick little image stuff. So keep this somewhere, but you may not be able to see it very well, but it'll help me better if I'm just writing. So to be successful with Configuration Manager, obviously the first thing you have to have is preparation. One of the things I do with Microsoft and the Configuration Manager team is I work with what we call our TAP customers. So our TAP customers are customers that are corporate environments, and they take our beta or pre-release versions of the software and they test them out for us in their production environments. Because we obviously test things out internally at Microsoft in what we first call our dog food group. Our dog food group is our own internal product group. So we've got a few 100,000, whatever it is, PCs that we manage locally. So we throw on different builds and they're testing things out, and we're managing our own clients, like my laptop's a dog food client. So we do our own internal testing. Then when we get further along and we're getting close to releasing stuff to you guys as a beta or a release candidate or RTM, we give it to Microsoft IT. And Microsoft IT is that group I said that manages almost 300,000 clients worldwide. So that they put it in their production environment, they upgrade all 7, I think it is, sites that they have in their infrastructure. They upgrade all those, and then they deploy the client out, and they test things out for us. And then so we have that, and then we have our TAP customers. Well, we're doing things on our own internally, but at Microsoft, everybody's an admin of their own laptop. So we're all logged on to administrative accounts. That's not the real world. You guys are all laughing and smiling. You know it's not the real world. Because in your environment, nobody's an admin except for you guys. You guys are admins, but your end users are not. They're logged on as a local user account. So, and you guys have different network environments, different operating system versions, and whatever else it is. So there's always stuff that gets found out in those environments. So as we're working with our TAP customers, that's the first thing we talk to them about is making sure they prepare properly. Make sure their environment's set up, make sure the SQL server's configured, and I'll write some of this up here in a second. Make sure they've got a plan in place to know how they're going to test, what they're going to test, if they have some success in this testing. So, operating system. So for those of you that are CongiMgr 2007 to CongiMgr 2012, the OS stuff is pretty much the same. But realistically, you want to be Windows Server 2008, Windows Server 2012. Somebody asked me during the break if we require Windows Server 2012 at all, and we do not. We do not have anything in our code, even in Service Pack 1, that requires Windows Server 2012. Our minimum OS is Windows Server 2008. And I always use R2, but again, there's nothing really that requires the R2. So you're looking at Windows Server 2008, probably the latest service pack, just to be safe. But there's nothing that requires Windows Server 2012. SQL Server, it's SQL 2008, and most people are using R2 now. But if you don't want R2, it's SP3CU9, and if you're on R2, it's SP1CU6, if I remember correctly. It's all up on TechNet. I don't remember off the top of my head now. But we have this up on TechNet, what their specific requirements are. The operating system and the SQL Server requirements do not change from CongiMgr 2012 RTM to CongiMgr 2012 SP1. It's all the exact same. So if you have a successfully installed and working CongiMgr 2012 environment today, you can pretty well keep most things the same. And you'll be able to upgrade SP1, you'll be in good shape. I'll talk about a couple things here in my demo as we get there. Active Directory. Certainly we require that this guy is an Active Directory member. All site systems, whether they're site server, database server, management point, distribution point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the site systems have to be Active Directory members, the domain point. We highly recommend that you extend the schema, but for the most part, it's not a requirement. It will make your lives easier as an administrator if you extend the Active Directory schema for Configuration Manager. There is no new schema extensions from 2007 to 2012, and no new schema changes from 2012 to 2012 SP1. So if you've already extended the schema for ConfigMan 2007, you're great. Just make sure that your site servers have rights to publish to Active Directory. So for those of you guys that are running 2007 today, if you were here last time I was here, we talked about the migration scenario. I think we did. One of the last few times we did. And migration, there's no in-place upgrade from ConfigMan 2007 to ConfigMan 2012. So you have to do side-by-side replacement or side-by-side migration. So the important thing here is that you might have your CM07 already able to publish to Active Directory. But now you're installing brand new ConfigMan 12 environments, and you're going to have to make sure you allow that publishing. And I hate the acronym CM, but I just don't want to write too much on your board. It's Configuration Manager, not CM. And it's not SCCM either. SCCM actually is a registered trademark for a third company, not Microsoft. So we're not supposed to use the term SCCM. So for Configuration Manager 2007, you're already publishing today. But just remember, in a migration scenario, you're doing duplicate hardware. You're doing a side-by-side migration, so you have to make sure you let us publish to Active Directory the new site systems. Now again, there's very few requirements for publishing to Active Directory, but it is going to make your life easier. So preparation is the biggest thing. Make sure you got the proper OS, make sure you got the proper SQL Server versions. Highly recommended to extend the Active Directory schema and allow us to publish AD. If you do that, your lives will be a whole lot easier as an administrator.
If you will install a new environment with Config Manager SP1, do you have preference between SQL Server 2008 or 2 and SQL Server 2012?
Okay, so the question is, Panu projects very well, so I'm sure y'all heard it, but just for the camera, question is, if you're going to install a brand new environment with Service Pack 1, is there any reason to use SQL Server 2012 as opposed to SQL Server 2008 or 2008 R2? And we have nothing in our code for SP1 that necessitates or takes really advantage of a SQL 2012 environment. So we can care less in the product group. So we don't care what you use. So there's always better things in the next releases. So better security, theoretically better performance, all those type of things are better for you with new versions of stuff, but it's nothing that we require. We're absolutely still supporting these. Now, if I switch colors to black for SP1, then we do support Windows Server 2012, and we support SQL Server 2012. So you can use both those if you want to with our SP1, not with ConfigMan 2012 RPM. You can use the new Server OS, and you can use the new version of SQL Server. We don't require it, and to my knowledge, there's nothing that we take advantage of in either of those that will be better for you if you do utilize that new OS or the new SQL Server for Configuration Manager 2012 SP1. Now, in the future, we may very well. So if you want to get yourself prepared for the future, then you're deploying a new server right now, if you are, like if you're moving from 2007 to 2012 SP1 directly, then you may want to go with the latest OS and latest SQL Server in the event that, let's say, SP2 makes some enhancement that will take advantage of those. And I'm not announcing an SP2, and I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying if that were to happen. So I don't know. I don't know where we're going with the next release of the product. But those would be the things that I would look at doing. And if you did that, follow the TechNet docs. On TechNet, there's a getting started guide, supporting configurations guide, and it walks you through every single thing you need to do in the OS to get ready. Oh, nice. laptop just decided to, it's not sleeping, just pretty much like, and I saw the light change, so I'm basically done writing anyway, so. But the supported configs doc on TechNet will tell you all the stuff in the OS you need to do. You need to install this component. You need to make sure you have IIS. You need to make sure you have WMI 6 compatibility mode turned on, all those things. Follow the TechNet docs and you'll be fine. So with that, whether you're installing a brand new SP1 environment or you're going to do an upgrade from ConfigMan 2012 RTM to ConfigMan 2012 SP1, there's a little bit of prep stuff you have to do. Same thing if you're doing a migration. If you're doing a migration from 2007 to 2012, that's considered a brand new install because you're not doing an in-place upgrade. You're doing a clean install and you're doing that side-by-side migration. So let me show you a couple of things. I'll throw some more things out there as we get chatting here. But so just want to show you that this is an RTM site. If you guys that are running RTM today, you'll recognize the build. Oops, I forgot to start up zooming again. Because I booted up new images. Okay, now we're good. So now go back over to administration, and now you see the build number. The build number is 7711. 7711 is the RTM build. So this is an RTM site server. You can upgrade in place from 7711 to whatever the build is for RTM, which we don't know yet because it's not ready. Remember I showed you I was 7796. So it'll be something after 7796, but whatever it is, you can do an in-place upgrade. It's not a side-by-side like you do from 2007 to 2012. So I've got that installed, but again, it doesn't matter if it's an upgrade or a clean scenario. You're going to have to download the code. So you download the code from the website. I've already downloaded my code and extracted it and put it in my image. The extracted size, as you see here, is under a gigabyte. If you guys had played around with RTM, the extracted size was like almost twice that size in 2012 RTM. And the reason it's gone down, a lot of that is the fact that we're no longer including the wake. Because the wake has boot images in it, which are 150 gigabytes each. 2 boot images, 125 and 150 or something like that. So that's a big chunk of that difference. So the download has gotten smaller from the web. So you'll download the code from the web, you'll extract it into some location like I have here, and then before you start, what I would always recommend is I would go ahead and run the prereq checker. And I'm going to run the prereq checker from command line. When you run it from command line on an existing site server, it automatically does an upgrade test. So it's going to tell me, is my existing site server install able to be upgraded to Service Pack 1? You can also launch this off from the splash screen if you want to, that I'll show you later on. But here we see the prereq checker running, and we see that it already gives me 1 error. Now it's giving me 2 more errors and 2 warnings. And this will go through and will evaluate your site server, your SQL server, and your management point to verify that they can be installed as those type of computers automatically, as well as the DP. So it came back and it gave me 5 things that said, hey, you should take care of these before you try and do, in this case, an upgrade, but you see the same thing on a clean install. So the 3 in red, that one, and that one, so those 3 are all because of the change from the wake to the 80K. And it's saying you don't have I don't have the appropriate 80K components installed to be able to install Service Pack 1. So whether you're doing this in a lab environment today, or whether you're looking at production with SP1 when it comes out, or in a VM like this playing around with the beta, clean install or an upgrade, you're going to have to take care of that issue. So just giving that, and those are errors blocked install. So I will not be able to install my site, or in this case upgrade from RTM to SP1 until I take care of those errors. The 2 in yellow, the 2 configuration, the 2 SQL server issues, those are listed as warnings. Those mean, yeah, we suggest you fix these, but you don't have to. You're not going to block setup. So I'll take care of these 3 in red in just a minute. But let me explain these 2 SQL server, because you may see these in your production environments on your own. So the first one, and if you click on any one of these, it gives you the detail down below. It says SQL Server is configured for unlimited memory usage. You shouldn't do that, basically. So what that means is my default SQL Server, or my SQL Server is installed with default configuration, which is no minimum memory, and let SQL Server consume as much memory as it wants to. So it's unlimited as far as the maximum amount of memory it can consume. That's a really bad thing, especially when SQL Server is co-located with your site server, because SQL Server could take all the memory in my box and basically starve Configuration Manager. So what we want you to do is to go to SQL Server and configure SQL Server for a maximum amount of memory it can use. If you're in a co-located scenario, that generally we state something like, I hear ranges from 50 to 70%. It just depends on how conservative the person is that's saying it. Personally, me, I say about 50%. So tell SQL Server it can consume up to 50% of the RAM in your box. So if I was an 8 gig system, I'd max out SQL Server at 4 gigabytes of RAM. 4 to 5, somewhere in there. The second one, SQL Server process memory allocation. And if I zoom out and click that one and then zoom back in for you, it's a big one so you won't be able to see all the text. But basically it's saying that, if you look right here, that we want SQL Server to be capped at a specific amount of memory, a max amount it can take without taking up everything. But we also want it to have a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM. So we want you to be between 8 and something below your maximum amount of memory in your server, which generally we tell you like 12, 16 gigabytes of RAM is a great amount for a site server if you're co-locating SQL Server. Now, SQL Server is on its own box, which is a very, very popular thing to do. Then we're less concerned about the SQL Server memory because it's a standalone box. We just don't want it starving the site server. So we're suggesting SQL Server has a minimum of 8 gig up to a maximum of 70% of the memory that's in that computer. So that's what those two warnings are. But they're warnings, so they're not going to prevent me from installing, whether it's, again, an upgrade or a clean install. So let me go ahead and leave this running here. Let me go ahead and take care of those 3 in red. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to uninstall the wake, because that's what we tell you we really want you to do, the Windows team does. They're going to uninstall a program, Windows Automated Installation Kit. It's there. I'm just going to go ahead and, I don't think there's any, yeah, it just tells you version 2.00. I'm going to click uninstall, and it uninstalls very quickly. So you, like I mentioned before, you can have the two coexisting for a period of time, but the Windows team really wants you to get rid of it as soon as possible. So uninstall that. There's also here a Windows Server Update Services SP2. That is required. So if you're going to use WSUS for doing your patching through software update points in Configuration Manager, you have to have WSUS 3.0 SP2. Plus, you have to have a hotfix installed. So, let me go here. There we go. So there's a couple of hotfixes you have to apply for support of Windows 8 and Windows Server 2012 clients. So those hotfixes are here. Now somebody told me in London that we just recently redid these hotfixes so that one of them supersedes the other one, so it's down to one hotfix now. We did like a combined hotfix update. But you need Windows Server Update Services 3.0 SP2 plus these two hotfixes, or maybe it's one now, that will allow you to patch Windows Server, deploy updates to Windows 8 and Windows Server 2012. So that's the other thing that's very important for you. Our prereq checker will catch that as well. Okay, so I uninstalled the Wake. Now I'm going to install the ADK. Again, my VM's not on the internet, so I've already pre-downloaded the ADK components. So I've downloaded all the ADK components. They're sitting here. I've downloaded everything, and you can see in an everything environment, it's 2 gigabytes worth of files that you downloaded. If you just run from the web, then all you have on your computer is ADK setup. So you can see it's less than a megabyte in size. But there's two different ways of installing the ADK. If your site server has internet access, you can just run ADK setup, and it will go ahead and download the appropriate components and install them from the web. If you don't have, like I don't, then you can run ADK setup, and you can tell it to install for a different computer. And that basically downloads everything with an installer that lets you install on this scenario that I have here, a disconnected computer. So I'll run ADK setup, and let's going to pop up here and ask me if I want to run, and I'll click run. It will pop up here and ask me. There we go. And there we go. And now the 80K, here's the 80K setup. It asks you for your install location. I'm going to let it go to the default, the program files x86, Windows Kits 8.0. And I'll click next. Do you want to join the Customer Experience Improvement Program? We always recommend you do, so that and when you do, your computer will send information to Microsoft periodically to let us know how you're using, if you're using the product that you installed, and not necessarily how you're using it, but what areas you're using of it, so that we know where people use the product, so we know what things to make better in the future. If nobody spends any time on a feature, no sense us investing in making that feature better. So that's what these experience programs always do for us, give us kind of tracking data on what you do so we know where to spend time. I'm in a disconnected environment, so for me it doesn't matter. So I'll just go ahead and say no, but if I say yes, nothing's going to get sent because I'm not on the internet. License agreement, you guys read really fast, it's being videotaped, so you can look at the tape later to see the license agreement, we're going to accept it. Now here's those 7 different components I said are available in the 80K. So you can pick and choose whichever ones of those you want. I'm going to clear all except for the 3 we require. So we do show you, point out which we do require, which I did show you in that one PowerPoint. So we don't require the application compatibility toolkit. We do require deployment tools, WinPE, and USMT. We don't require the volume activation, Windows Performance Toolkit, or SQL Server 2008 R2 Express. So again, those are the 3 we require from the 80K. So you need to make sure that you install a minimum of those 3. If you want any of the other 4, that's fine. It doesn't affect us at all. But we require those 3. And those you see are the same names that our prereq checker said that we're missing. So I'll go ahead and say yes, we accept those. And then this is a very quick install, so it'll be done in just a minute. So the biggest change from CongiMgr 2012 RTM to SP1 is the wait to 80K and those couple of hotfixes to support Windows 8. If you're moving from CongiMgr 2007 to CongiMgr 2012 SP1 directly, then again it's a side-by-side installation, and those same things are still there. You have to have a proper OS. So maybe your current OS is Windows Server 2003, which we don't support as a site system in CongiMgr 2007. So you want to have current OS stuff. So you want to make sure you have current stuff, because 2012 doesn't support that. So make sure you have current OS. Doesn't have to be Windows Server 2012, but at least Windows Server 2008, and then the appropriate SQL Server. Okay, my 80K stuff is done. I click close. Go back to my prereq checker that I left running, and I just click run check again, and it will go ahead and reevaluate that site, and it will say that, okay, you are now ready to upgrade. It'll give me those 2 warnings for those 2 SQL Server memory things. I'm in a VM with only 4 gigabytes of RAM, so I certainly can't set my minimum at 8 gigabytes for SQL Server, and I still have SQL Server set to unlimited memory usage. So it's fine for what I'm doing, but again, the recommendation is 8 gig to up to 70% of your physical RAM in your box, if you're co-locating. Okay, so I'm clean. Nothing's going to prevent me from installing. So I've got my Active Directory scheme extended because I'm doing an upgrade. It was already extended for RTM. My site server, I'm doing an in-place upgrade, so my site server already has rights to publish. I have proper OS, I have proper SQL Server. Hopefully I've done enough preparation so I feel good about this. I've done my lab testing, so I'm ready to go ahead and do my upgrade process. And I'll just show you real quickly what the upgrade process looks like. It's really simple. So I'll just walk you through that, and then we'll talk more deployment stuff. So now I go back to my extracted code. I just run splash HTA. The splash screen appears. Here's the assess server readiness, so I could run the same prereq checker from here as I did from the command line. I'll just click install. And for those of you that have installed CongiMgr 2012, you've seen this setup program before. It's the same. For those of you that are only CongiMgr 2007 and not seeing CongiMgr 2012, it's a new setup program that you may not have experienced before. And here's our, before we begin, our welcome page. Traditionally, what you would do is you would choose this option right here to install a clean primary site. So if you guys are going to do your migration from 2007 to 2012, that's the option you're going to choose, install a primary site. I don't have that option available to me because I'm sitting on top of an existing site server. So I can't do an install of a new site server on the old site server. I have to do an in-place upgrade or one of the other options at the bottom. So for the vast majority of you, that's the first thing you're going to do with CongiMgr 2012 SP1 is install a brand new site server. Now for a couple of you that said you had hierarchies, you may choose that one first. You may say, okay, I do need to have more than one primary site. I know that from the beginning. I'll install a brand new CAS, and then I'll attach primary sites to it. So in that case, this would be, what is it? Yeah, right there. This would be number one you would do, and then, I guess I can't do number two. Number two would be up above. I guess I can put two here, and then I can go ahead and just make two bigger. Doesn't matter. I don't know how to zoom it well enough to get over to draw an arrow up there. So anyway, if you know you're going to have a hierarchy of multiple primary sites, you install your CAS first, and then you install your primary sites. When you install a primary site, it asks you, are you going to join a hierarchy and be standalone? You just point it to the name of the CAS that you previously installed. Okay. And then, I'll zoom back in and I'm clear. And then the other options you have are the one we're going to use, upgrade. And then you also have recover site. Recover sites, my site failed, either hardware failure, SQL Server failure, or my CongiMgr failed. And I need to recover, and hopefully from database, reinstall database stuff and recover stuff. And then something hopefully you never have to do, and that's uninstall your site. But you could do that. Now, the one scenario there, if you remember the Houston and Miami scenarios, where I made a hierarchy out of a standalone Houston, but out of standalone Miami, I do a migration to get Miami's data over to my hierarchy. I uninstall then Miami as a standalone primary, reinstall it with the top option, install a primary site, and in that install wizard I say, join a existing hierarchy pointing to my CAS. So that's where you would use it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and choose upgrade. If you have a licensed version of the product, if you have a PID, product key, you go ahead and supply that. I don't have, so I'm going to go ahead and use the top option, which is eval version of the product. It's the exact same product. The only difference is the eval times out in 180 days. So our services stop working in half a year. If you do this, if you do the install of a evaluation version, you can go back and choose this option next to the bottom, this grayed out, that says perform site maintenance. You can run that task, and that would let you upgrade or migrate from an eval version to the fully licensed version. Basically, put in your PID, it changes, removes the 180-day time bomb. But we're going to go ahead and use the the eval version. License agreement for us. License agreement for some additional components we require. And now we have to have files that we use to install clients or secondary sites. We can't ship these files with our products, so you go up to the web to download them. So if your site server has internet access, you go ahead and choose the top option, give it a path to download to. I don't have, so I previously downloaded those files, and I put them here. Oops. Redist. Oops. There we go. And then we let it verify. And usually this goes zipping right along for me, so it must be in London it went zipping right across. I know in Amsterdam on Monday it went very slow like this, so maybe it's the Eastern European power my laptop doesn't like. It's going slower. Everything else seemed to be going okay, but for whatever reason this one is going slow. So this is going to go through and check the manifest file that you have. These are different files from the RTM. So if you've already downloaded these files to the RTM build, not going to work with SP1. You have to re-download these files, different versions of these files.
You said earlier about this WMI compatibility mode.
Mm-hmm.
Can you open up that? Is it for the clients or for the server?
So the question was, I had mentioned earlier, when I'm talking about OS components, and our TechNet docs will tell you what you have to install as far as optional components or required components for different roles and stuff. And I mentioned WMI compatibility mode. That is for our site interface, so site server mode. Now we do require WMI on clients, obviously. Everywhere we use WMI. Our whole product is built, with WMI underneath it. So we do require it everywhere. But the WMI 6 compatibility mode stuff is for your management point and I believe one other site system. But we list that for you in the TechNet docs. But yeah, you would do that on your site server and everything. So this is an existing site server, so it's already there. But yeah, you go to the Getting Started docs on TechNet. They'll walk you through everything. We break it down by the individual site system role that you want and what components you have to enable, what features and roles you have to enable for those different scenarios. So if you have installed your CongiMgr 2012 environment, the next screen that we'll see in the wizard page is going to be your languages. What server languages do you want to have for your upgrade or your clean install? And again, that's to not have us to have different versions of the product installed for Japanese and German and Spanish and so on. You install the language neutral version. You pick the language packs you want for the administrative console. So you could put install the admin console over in Germany. It would install with the German language pack. So the console would be in German if that's what you want. So you're going to pick and choose which languages you want. After the server end of things,
will Finnish client language pack be available at Service Pack 1 RTM?
Our goal is that we're what we call sim shipping, simultaneously shipping all languages at the same time. So at RTM, at SP1. So yes, that is the goal.
Have you had any corrections for those couple of words in the RTM Finnish version?
Were they really bad words?
Funny words.
Funny words? Funny words, maybe not. Were those things, were you giving us some of that feedback on? Yeah. So they have supposed to have gone through and cleaned up all those. Yes. So what he's talking about is we had our MVPs, I don't know how many months ago, that go through the localized versions of our client UI and our server UI and to see how well our translators did. And they came back with some, you guys did a very good job in some cases. And so he's asking if we cleaned up those things that Panu found for Finnish or some of the other guys found in their own native languages. So that's one of the great things about the MVPs. They're willing to help us out with those things. And we have a localization team that we actually contract the people to do the localization for us because we don't have people that speak all those languages in our product group. So we have to get vendors who go in there and do the translation. And they don't obviously do as great of a job as we need to have done at times. So these guys do a great job helping us out. And that helps clean up the product for you guys. So sometimes there's words that get translated and they're really bad. They're offensive. Unintentionally, of course. Sometimes they're just funny words that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you say that? Just the translation process. So again, usually this cruises through and it's done in like 30 seconds, and it's almost done now. So we're going to ask you for what language packs you want for the server. Then we'll ask you what language packs you want for the client. And you'll see we have additional server language packs and client language packs that are available. So here's the server language packs. In this build, there are no other language packs available, so I can't select anything else. But in the RTM, you'll be able to select whatever appropriate language packs you want. Well, not that you want, that are available for you, because you may want Finnish, and there is no language pack for a server for Finnish on the admin console stuff. So you pick whatever the appropriate language packs for you, you'll select those. But again, in this pre-release build, they aren't there. So I can't select anything else, but these will be white or clear checkboxes I can be able to select. And then same thing for clients. Here's the Finnish client. And you go ahead and pick whatever appropriate client language packs you want so that we'll install the end user interface, software center, and application catalog and messages in the appropriate language when necessary. So you pick those. And then for a clean install, we ask you for your site name, your install directory, do you want the admin console installed? Then we ask you about SQL Server stuff. We ask you if you're going to be a standalone site or a site under in a hierarchy. We ask you where the providers can install, whether you use HTTP or HTTPS. We ask you a bunch more questions for a clean install. I'm doing an upgrade, so it doesn't ask me anything else. I just go ahead and click next, and then it goes and runs that pre-rec checker again. We don't keep track of the fact that, hey, we just ran this 15 minutes ago, and we did pass it. So it just runs again to make sure nothing's changed that's going to cause any problems in our site install. And it came back and it found those same two things. It's not done yet, but it's found those same two SQL Server memory configuration issues that it wants. As soon as it's ready to roll, this next button, right where my mouse is, right there, the next button is going to change to begin install, like it just did. I click begin install, and my upgrade process occurs. So we go ahead and uninstall all the CongiMgr 2012 services. We go ahead and reinstall them as CongiMgr 2012 SP1 services. keeping all of your settings, your applications, your data, your collections, all those things that you created already there. So we're just replacing our services with those new services, as well as those additional components that we now have that we didn't have in RTM. So we have this timer here, and the timer will keep track of how long it took. When I did this in London, because I had to reinstall because one of my images got corrupt, the upgrade took about 18 minutes to do an upgrade of my VMs. Now, obviously, I'm a VM environment. I've got 3 clients, so it's not very big. You guys have thousands of clients. One of the TAP customers I work with, we upgraded our CAS, and we had about 12,000 clients in it, and it took about a half an hour, 40 minutes to do an upgrade of the site. So upgrading their CAS with that number of clients and all that data. So it's not bad at all. So I'm going to kill this, and I'm going to boot up a site that's already been upgraded so I can show you some additional stuff. So we're not going to sit here and wait for that because it'll take most of the rest of the time we have. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this guy. I'm going to go back over and switch to post upgrade. Apply that snapshot. And then I'll go ahead and start this guy back up, and then we'll be off and running. And I'll go to full screen mode. It's okay. It's going to take him a couple minutes to start up. Nice thing is in Windows 8 or Windows Server 2012, and I'm running Windows 8 obviously on my desktop, images Hyper-V is much faster than it was in Windows Server 2012. So that if you're doing virtualized environments, that might be one reason why you might want to look at Windows Server 2012 or Windows 8, but that's for your host environment, not necessarily for the OS. The OS of my operating system, my guest VMs, they're still Windows Server 2012 or 2008 R2. So I've not updated my site server image itself to Windows Server 2012 yet. It's still running Windows Server 2008 R2. And obviously I do have one Windows 8 client as we saw earlier. So, okay, you get your OS prepared, you get your SQL Server prepared. There's a couple of issues that are talked about in the docs. If you guys are larger environments where you need to worry about scalability, if you think you might be going up to 100,000 clients in your environment, then you have to worry about whether SQL's co-located or whether it's on a remote box. And if you're going to have a large environment, you want to have it remotely in 2 separate boxes, one for CongiMgr and one for SQL Server to let you scale beyond 50,000 clients. From there, it's my AD is extended, I'm allowed to publish, and I'm off and running. So you install your new site, and then you guys do a migration from 2007 over to 2012. Let me change my screen resolution so I don't keep scrolling up and down in the image. That. There we go. Keep that. And now, once you get your environment all set up and running, we're going to go through and we're going to reinstall all of your components. So all the configuration manager services you had. So if I go to administration, and then, I need to let me load Zoom as well on this one since I rebooted. Start Zoom it. And go to administration, and now you can see that my site version is again 7796, way down here at the bottom. So it's 7796, so it's not 7711 anymore, which is the RTM build. So it was that exact same image I had. I just went through I let that upgrade process complete, and then I saved the image once the upgrade got completed. On a clean install, you guys won't have a problem. You have a console install fine. There is likely going to be an issue if you're doing an upgrade scenario like I am, in that I can show you my log file, what you'd be looking for. In the root of drive C, you're going to config manager setup log file, and then you go to the very bottom of the log file, and you're looking for this right here. Error, failed to uninstall the configuration manager console. Because it couldn't uninstall the old console, we couldn't install the new console. You can't have the RTM console, the SP1 console on the same computer at the same time. And we don't really do an upgrade of the console. You uninstall the old console and you install the new one. And in this case, you got a failure event on uninstall the old one. And when I look at the install log file, it says what is it, 1628, which is the MSI error code for another MSI process already in process. You go, MSI exec can only install one thing at a time. And what was happening is, when I did this, and you guys will probably see this as well, and this is a bug we're not fixing in the RTM of SP1, what I've been told, is that your site server may kick in with another install of an MSI like the management point. The management point gets upgraded through an MSI. So if that MSI is running and installing, because of that, then we try and get to the end of the setup program and uninstall the admin console, which is an MSI. We can't, because MSI exec is already running. So we give you a failure and tell you you have to manually uninstall. So you would go to add and remove programs, you would uninstall the RTM console, and then you would install the SP1 console. And I'll show you real quickly what that looks like. Control panel, uninstall program, and then here's the console. And you can see that I've done that because my console version is 7796, the same as my site server version. Before that says 7711.0000. So you may very well have to do that, just depending upon how fast your server is and so on. But in my case, I hit that what we call a race condition, where two MSIs are trying to go at the same time. One uninstalled, one was already installing. And I'm assuming it was the management point. Could have been one of the other components, like your reporting services point or fallback status point, because they all install 3 MSIs. But anyway, so I had to manually uninstall my admin console, install the new admin console, and then I'm all good to go. So as part of that upgrade process, you will take all these components you have installed in your site server, and you will upgrade them or reinstall them with the SP1 version, because there's obviously new SP1 versions of everything here, including any of the components you might have had out there, like software update point and so on. So it'll go through a process of upgrading all those components. So it may take it a half an hour, whatever it is, to get everything all finished off that you want to do. On a clean install, your console, your setup program, you would just sit there and wait until everything turns green. So it'll be like double blue arrows pointing each other in an oval, and then when they're done with that task, it'll change to green, saying it's all done. So just wait till everything turns green, click close and finish, and bingo, you can launch your console and you got a clean install that's completed. This upgrade scenario, you have that issue. Okay, now let me see what so we have this thing called CCMeval, which is the client health tool. So because my site server is a client, every 24 hours we go out there and we check to see if our client is installed correctly, and then it tries to do a reinstall if not. And so right now it's doing that CCMeval stuff for me. So that will prevent what I was going to do next. I have to tap dance for a moment to let this process finish so I can do my next stuff. So it seems to hit me every single time I try and do this. So what I really should do is not have my site server installed with the client, so this doesn't happen on my site server, and I can get do my next portion of this demo more quickly. So what I wanted to talk about was client upgrades. So let's go back over the whiteboard and we'll talk about client upgrades for a moment, or client installs if you're doing a clean environment. So we've talked about the different client versions we support, which is we support everything Windows XP, SP3 later. So for installs of clients or upgrades, it doesn't matter. Different methods are client push. So client push allows you, the admin, to pick which computers you've discovered that you want to make a client. This is what I always do. I always do this as my test bed. So when you guys are first installing your brand new site, next thing I would do would be a AD discovery. So an AD system discovery. I would do that. We'll find all your computers in your Active Directory environment, and then you pick one of them and make it a client. So to do that, you have to create a client install account on your site and the things. It has to be a local administrator in your client. And then I would highly recommend you have a fallback status point in your site so that we get some additional status messages from the client install. So I do this as my first test to make sure my client works. And personally, what I do, I install my site server as a client. Obviously, as you see that. Because I don't think there's any reason to have site servers there that aren't being managed by itself. So make your server computers clients as well, so you can patch yourself, you can inventory yourself, you can protect it with endpoint protection, et cetera, et cetera. So I always do this first on my site server computer, that gives me a test bed. Now, if you don't want to trust putting the client on your site server right away, pick any other computer you want to do. Windows 8 client or Windows 7, whatever you want. But I do this first so that I know whether things are working or not. So I do a client push, if he reports in fine, and then I do a couple other things just to verify things are good, and then I go off from there. There's two different types of client push. There's admin control, and there's auto. I personally don't do auto. I don't like auto, the automatic client upgrade or client push, because I don't have any control over when those clients get pushed and become clients. It happens when they get discovered. So next time you run an AD discovery process, AD system discovery, we find a new resource, we're going to go push it out as a client immediately. Unless there's a backlog of other ones we're pushing out. We only do 10 at a time. So I don't personally turn that one on. I always do admin control, which is I go to my console, pick a client, pick a collection of small collection of clients, right click and say install client. So I'm in control when they get installed or upgraded. That's my own personal preference. I'll show you how you do both those in a moment. There's also software update point, that's SUP, if you can't read my writing. So software update point. You can actually have WSUS install the Configuration Manager client as a patch. So what you do is you tell Configuration Manager to publish us as a patch to WSUS. Next time your client scans against WSUS, it sees our client is a mandatory approved application update. And the patch is ccmsetup.exe, which is our installer. So it just kicks off our installer and installs our client through WSUS, and then it becomes a managed client just like any other install method. So that's a great way of doing client installs, provided you have an existing WSUS infrastructure that your client can utilize. That's a great way. A lot of people like to use group policy. So we have a group policy installer for our client that lets you go ahead and publish through AD a group policy to appropriate OUs, clients, and then when they reboot, they get the policy and they will go and install the client components. That's fine as well. Manual. Manual's kind of like what Panu did with his Macintosh, that I did with the Linux box. You just run CCM setup. You just manually run the installer and it'll go ahead and install the client locally. So you can do that. That's also one that a lot of people will do as a test as their initial client install. If they don't want to do push, they don't want to discover first, but it's manually install clients, just gets them out to make sure the infrastructure is working. So that's a good way. You can do logon script. We don't create one for you or maintain it. You have to create it on your own, but you can do that if you wish to. So any of these methods you want to use to install clients, we don't care. You can use all the methods you want to install your clients. Whatever works for you, whatever is necessary in your environment. Now, if you're in an upgrade scenario, so in my case, I've already got RTM installed on my client, and I want to upgrade it to SP1, the most popular method of upgrading clients is actually software distribution. Because you guys all know software distribution, you create a package, you create a program, you create an advertisement in the old days, now called a deployment, and you target that to a collection. And when you do that, you get to control which collection you're targeting. You get to control when that program runs on the clients. Because you get to target it with a deadline and specific time when it's required of the clients. So you get to control when things happen. So this is the most popular method of doing client upgrades from all of our CAP customers and the people I work with is software distribution. Because I have a lot of control over when things happen. But you go ahead and do whatever you want to do. So let me go show you a couple of these things in here, and then we'll get a couple more things going. We'll give you guys a break, and then we'll come back and finish up our Q&A stuff. So let me see if my CCM eval is still running. Wow. Oh, it just finished. It just finished because CCM exec just popped in here, so CCM eval is going to go away here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Ooh. Darn close. Wow. That was impressive. That was a lucky guess. I had no idea. So, yeah, now you guys are going to ask me tough questions because you think I'm smart. It was purely a guess. Anyway, so back over there. So client push. Client push, I mentioned that I don't use automated client push, but if you want to, a lot of people do. I just don't like it myself. First thing you have to do is go to client install settings, and then you would go and make sure you have an appropriate installation account. This account has to be a local admin on all your clients. An easy way of doing that is make it a domain admin, but if you don't want to do that, just some way get a script out there that will make this account a local admin on all your boxes. We require admin rights to install our client. And then specify whatever installation properties you want. In my case, I'm using SMS site code equals my hard-coded site code MCM, and I'm designating the fallback status point. So where clients write state messages saying, hey, yes, I did install, or oops, I failed to install, or I'm not assigned, whatever it is. But if you want to do automated client push, you would go to the General tab, and you would select this top checkbox, Enable Automatic Site-Wide Client Push. And then you designate in the middle whether you want to automatically push the servers, whether you want to push the workstations, and optionally push the configuration manager site systems. So you configure those, and then we'll go ahead and install clients automatically. And if you want to make sure we do domain controllers, you can specify that as well. And in my environment, my site server is a domain controller just to cut down the number of images I have. So I would have to select that option. And then that will go through whenever we discover a new computer, if it's assigned to the site, it's an OS we support, bingo, we make it a client automatically. So it sounds really simple. And if you like that, great. Again, I don't, so what I would do, or what I do, not what I would do, but I do, is I go and I find a resource that's been discovered, like here, Central, and I would just do a right click and do install client. So I'm controlling when that client gets installed, and I'm not going to click next because the client's not running, so it's not going to bother anything. It's going to create a request and time out trying to find it, but that's all I would do. If you have a smaller collection of resources you want to push to, you can go to device collection. In my case, all systems I only have 10 of them. So if I were to show you the members there, it's those exact same systems. I can right click on a collection and say install client. Now we only do 10 clients at a time. So we'll do a batch of 10, and then as one finishes, we'll create a request for another client. We'll push them out. So that way if you want to. If you want to do the software distribution upgrade process, you can do that as well. Oops, I need to get my client booted. Let me get my client computer booted up. Let me start him up so he's ready to roll here in a minute. Primary. If you want to do the software distribution upgrade process, you go to packages. You can't really utilize this built-in package for installing the way it is, because if you notice here it says 0 programs. We don't need a program when we use this package for OSD like I showed you earlier. We know what command to run, CCM setup. Just like for USMT, it says 0 programs. We know it's scan state and load state, so we know what to do. But for software distribution, you have to create a program to tell us. So what you would do is do a create package from definition. You click this bottom option, configuration manager client upgrade. Click next. Point to your source files, which would be on your site server. I'll go ahead and use UNC. Primary 1, SMS _ MCM, client. So you create that package from definition. That does create a program for you automatically. Now personally I would change the name so it's unique from the built-in one. So I would say Wally's. Did I put 3 L's in Wally? Yes I did. You guys are supposed to be catching me on these typos so I don't look funny. So I would change that just so there's some difference in it so I can identify it from the built-in one. And then there's one program that's created automatically. And go to properties, it's the configuration manager agent silent upgrade. So automatically and silently upgrade the client agent. And see the command line is CCM setup, our installer. No service, that just means always run in the context of the logged on user. Don't start with the logged on user and then switch over to the service context. But what I would make a change to this, and the last parameter says SMS site code equals auto. I would never use that. I'm not going to say you're foolish if you use SMS site code equals auto, but you're foolish if you use it. And the reason being is, for example, you guys are going to be in a transitionary phase where you have CongiMgr 2007 and CongiMgr 2012 running at the same time. So if you have a client there and you do SMS site code equals auto, he might detect that he's in the 2007 boundaries and try and assign himself to the 2007 site, which we won't let a 2012 client assign to 2012. So it's not that big of a deal. But let's say you had 2 2012s or 2 2007 environments running side by side. Then you get clients assigned to the wrong site. Or worse yet, this laptop is is managed by our dog food site in Redmond. I'm sitting here in Helsinki, and let's say our dog food team sends out an upgrade package right now to upgrade my client to a new version of SP1. So I run that, I get that over the internet, and I see that there's a package that's supposed to run. I run this program, and it says SMS site code equals auto. Well, if the local Microsoft site happened to have a CongiMgr site here installed, and I was within their boundaries, I would then get automatically assigned to the Helsinki site, which is not what I want. I want to stay managed by Redmond. So auto means, client, you figure it out wherever you're at right now, and that's where I want you to assign to. And I don't want to reassign my client just because I happen to be what we call roaming. So I would change this to say whatever my real site code is. So I would do that. And then you guys would know what to do next. You'd go ahead and create a deployment or advertisement and deploy this out to your appropriate collection of clients that you want to upgrade. So you can do that. Now, we did something new in Service Pack 1. Let me get our client logged on. So in Service Pack 1, and this has failed on me in both places I've been so far, so we're going for 3 for 3. I really want this to work this time, but it has failed on me, so I'm just prepping you. And I think I know why, but so here's our task schedule that we have in our environment, and you can see that we have one task scheduled that in my case runs at 12:09 every day. And the name of that task you see down here is, oops, I didn't load Zoom it, is Configuration Manager Health Evaluation. That's that automatic CCM eval code to make sure my client's working properly, and if not, go ahead and fix my client. So that's going to run at midnight every day, and if my client wasn't running at midnight, it's going to go ahead and run it as soon as it can after boot up. And you can see that, I'll just leave that running just to make sure, but you can see that on your conditions. Where did it go? Actions, we run that. Settings, thank you. Run on demand. As soon as if the scheduled task is missed. So if the scheduled task is missed, go and run it right away. So hopefully it's already run on my laptop, on the client image, and not there. Okay. So what we do now is we have a new process in Service Pack 1 that does allow you to turn on automatic client upgrades, and we do that through a scheduled task. So I'm just showing you if the scheduled task is not there right now. So please work. We're going to see if this is going to work for me. It did in my hotel room, but it hasn't been, like I said, in the 2 places I've been and done this. Oops, I don't want client, I want server. So we have this new thing up here. Let me go back to administration, site, and go to hierarchy settings. And then we have this automatic client upgrade. So in our up through SMS 2.0, we used to do automatic client upgrades. And I'm not going to say you guys personally, I'm just going to say you guys as our customers. You guys crucified us after SMS 2.0 because we had 5 service packs for SMS 2.0. And every time you'd upgrade your service pack, we would upgrade one of our special site systems called a client access point, a CAP. Every 24 hours, each client would check in with the CAP. Oh, the site version's changed. I need to upgrade. So if you had 10,000 clients and let's say all your users turned them off at the end of the day, you upgraded overnight, they all come in at 8 a.m., they turn on all 10,000 clients, guess what? At 8:05, you got 10,000 clients upgrading at the same time. And your network teams hollered at you because you had all this megabytes of traffic going across the wire for each of those 10,000 clients. So, and that happened, you had no control over it. So we stopped with the automatic client upgrades as of SMS 2003. And we gave you all those other methods to upgrade that we talked about over there. And now you guys are all complaining because there's no way to automatically upgrade clients. So we're putting that back in. And this is that new feature. It looks very similar to the feature we had in RTM. Same location and everything. It just didn't work in RTM. But it does work in SP1. It may not work in my demo, but it does work in SP1. I have used it before. And the guys tell me they fixed it. So it's not enabled by default. So you're in control as to whether or not you want to use this upgrade method. If you do want to use this upgrade method, you click the checkbox, and we present a UI here saying, you dummy, do you really want to upgrade everybody? No, we say it much nicer than that. But it's just saying you've enabled automatic client upgrade. We're going to go ahead and upgrade all your clients for you automatically. And that sounds great. Now, the controls that you have here are, first off is this timing. Automatically upgrade clients within days. So within how many days of being an old client you want them to automatically upgrade to the new client. So this is saying by default, within 24 hours, every one of my clients would upgrade from RTM to SP1. It's going to be a random over that 24 hours. So, and we implement that by policy to the client and then a scheduled task on the client. So it's going to be some randomized load across that time period. Now, one day is not what you want. You're probably going to want to set this thing to something more like 7 days. Give me a week to do my other client upgrade methods we talked about over there, and then let this catch all those other guys after the fact. So if I set this, that says that over a week's period of time, I'm going to randomly have some number of clients upgraded by this automatic method as opposed to whatever else you might do through any other method. So you have no control over when any individual client upgrades, but we are going to try and randomize that. And we don't do it from the side end of things. We create a policy, and the policy tells clients, hey, you pick some time in the next 7 days, and you schedule a task to do that. Now, we tell you here in the middle of this dialog, this setting applies to all clients in your hierarchy. So if you turn this on any site, it's going to go to your entire hierarchy and enable automatic client upgrade for you. It's basically an advertisement for a client upgrade to all systems. And clients just randomly pick the time that they want to do. But it will only upgrade clients that aren't at the existing current version, which in my case, it tells you up here, is 7796.1000. So my Service Pack 1 built. So if I had any beta clients in here, which were 7782, they're under this, they would get upgraded automatically in sometime in the next 7 days, if I didn't do it on my own. So okay, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'll leave it at 7, it doesn't matter for what I'm doing. Now this does use a built-in package. So there's a package built in here that we utilize for this. That package you don't see in the software library. It's not that package that was built in, and it's not the one I created. If you go to monitoring and look at distribution status, content status, it's another package. It's this one right here. So we have these two packages, Configuration Manager Client Package built in, Configuration Manager Client Upgrade Package built in. And we're using this bottom one, and the cool thing is, notice that it's automatically targeting my DP, and it's only a little over a megabyte size. All this package is ccmsetup.exe. So what we target to the client is ccmsetup.exe. The client gets it, downloads it, adds its scheduled task time, it runs it, and then it goes to a distribution point to find the rest of the components, which you can see right above it is 172 megabytes. So we only push down a little over a meg, and the client pulls the rest of it when it does do its upgrade process. So you need to make sure that this package has been successfully distributed to your distribution point. In this case, I only have one, and it is 100% compliant. If that doesn't work, then it's not going to function at all. Okay, so now here's the test part to see if things work. Let me look at policy to make sure my policy, it should be done by now. I've logged on long enough. Oops, not lab files. Go here, go here, go here, and just go to policy provider. And policy provider updated just recently, so it should be updated enough. So now we go to the client. We go to the client, that task is not there. We tell the client to pull policies. And let's make sure he's not in a CCM eval state, but I think my client is busted. I think what happened, if this does fail, the way I think it is going to fail, is that it lost its domain membership because I got my images out of whack between my snapshots when I upgraded my server and didn't get my client in the same, I didn't snapshot him at the same time. So I think it is probably going to have a issue, but we'll find out here. We'll look real quick. And we'll go to the client, we'll look at its log files. Here, and go to logs. And then we have, it doesn't say it downloaded the policy. Let me go look here. Yeah, I think that's what happened, is that it's lost its policy, but let me try it one more time. It lost its domain membership. Because it should have like a dozen task actions in here and only has one. So I may have to go in there and recycle the client, joining it back into the domain to get into work. You should have more actions there than those. And policy agent should pop up here and say that it has, yeah, it's requesting machine policies but is not receiving any response back. So my guess is he's got an HTTP problem. Let me check this one log file real quick. 429. It's not done anything. Not done anything today of interest. So I think I got that problem. So I know Panu wants to show you something here. So let me go ahead and before I kick this over to Panu. So it may not work, but I'm going to try one thing real quick. I'm going to go up here, go into properties, go to my computer, and I'm going to change the domain membership. And okay, reset that and have him restart the computer and see if he comes back to life. I think that's what the problem is. I'm hoping that's what the problem is. Or my CCM eval kicked in again on my primary site server, so the MP's not there. Yeah, the MP should be there. It's not doing anything. So, and executive and site component services are all running fine. So if this does work, it should create a scheduled task for me to allow me to pull that, have a scheduled task in there. I was just going to show you what the randomized time was over the 7-day period, and then I was just going to kick off the task manually so that we can see it happen. Okay. I'll just check this, and if it's not, we'll just give it up, and I'll have to review my images to get them in sync again, which wouldn't be the first time I've done that with my snapshots. Okay, he's not running, so let me go ahead and start CCMexec. Okay, CCMexec is running. And I'll just quickly tell it to pull policies, and if that doesn't do it, we'll cam this and we'll cut that part of the tape out. You know, it'll make Panu feel better because he had a demo that didn't work perfectly either, but I think he's going to show us he fixed it. So
I hope so.
Okay, so we'll check that, and we'll give this guy a moment to process policies, and in the meantime, we will, let's look real quick. 5:49, that's better. That's our current time. I can tell you in 1 second if it did download it. I'll do MCM2, search up. Yep, there it is. Okay, download the policy. There's the policy for that advertisement. Basically, it's an advertisement it creates. So it's MCM is my site code. 2000 is just the first offer or advertisement deployment I had, and the package name is MCM0003 and the policy created. So it says it downloaded the policy, and if so, then it should have policy evaluator, should say it applied that policy. And MCM2, search up, applying policy. So it says it applied the policy, and if that's the case, then go back over here to task scheduler, and go here, and okay, not there yet. It may not be done evaluating it, even though it's applied it. So I'll kick this over to Panu, let him show you what he wants to do, and then I'll fake it while you guys are paying attention to Panu, and we'll see if we can show it after our break. So we're at break time as well. So. Okay.